Jack Holmes, Master of Puppets, is a survival horror that promises terrifying locations and enemies that you can't hide from. But how true is that? Stay tuned to find out. The game begins with Jack, our player character, waking up in his apartment. A letter has been slipped through his door containing details of a missing man named Frederick. We've been tasked to investigate Frederick's whereabouts, with this also being Jack's first case. Our first stop in true survival horror fashion will be a secluded house in the woods, because why wouldn't it be? The game immediately suffers from light and texture pop-in issues. The dialogue sounds as though it's been recorded with a cheap microphone.
I was up until late yesterday looking at flights to Japan, but I have no money.
And you have cutscene animations that look like this. The controls are simple. You can run, crouch, jump, toggle your flashlight, interact and fire your weapon. You'll initially be looking for ways to access an abandoned property, but once inside you'll come across synthetic puppets as well as human organs. There's no way that a humanoid creature could be formed with wooden organs though, right? Well, your fears are met when this sentient puppet pushes us off a ledge. Starting off in the house, you'll be looking for keys to open locked doors, solving puzzles and doing battle with living puppets. It's a dark and eerie environment with blood-soaked baths, this horror show, and food that I wouldn't go near with a 10-foot pole. Combat is easy in the game. You start off with a pistol and eventually unlock a shotgun. You can make quick work of enemies by shooting them in the head with the pistol, but for most enemies I recommend sticking with the shotgun. This is because most of the enemies run at you quicker than what you can evade them. This results in you having to trade damage quite often, but this won't be the case if you just one-shot them with the shotgun. There's plenty of ammo lying around, and you'll also be picking up medkits, which are again plentiful. This is one survival horror where you don't need to worry about munitions or resources, as you have them in abundance. You've got a standard inventory menu, but there's not much to see here. You can save your game, but doing so drops the frame rate to 10 FPS, and this isn't a one-off. Frames will be dropped every single time you save. Now, I have a lot to say about the game's performance, but we'll dive into that shortly. The background as to what's going on with the story is briefly touched on in the form of notes that you'll find lying around, and I mean brief. These notes mostly serve as clues on how to open a door or solve a puzzle. Most of the enemies are the same puppet reskinned, but that's okay in my book, as they give them different attacking animations as well as weapons. But there is some diversity. You've also got spiders with eyeballs, these woodland critters that remind me of South Park, and even a dragon, which is a reminder that I really need to finish off Game of Thrones. There are a few jump scares here and there. Now, I'm not the jumpy type, but one of these did get me. For some reason, walking over objects that can be moved glitches out your movement, resulting in less control. Now take a look at this lock. It looks as though it needs to be shot to be opened. I shot at it a few times and figured I need to go and find a key or do something else. Little did I know it must be shot in one specific spot or it's not opening. Unfortunately, this can be said for several objects in the game, so bear this in mind. There are boss fights, but they're in the wrong game genre. Jack is slow and there's no way of avoiding any attacks. If an enemy gets close to you, you must stand and trade and just use medkits. The bosses here are quick and agile, and you can't get away from them. It just turns into spamming your shotgun and then spamming medkits. Now, as mentioned earlier, the bosses are incredibly easy. You're going to kill these guys first time guaranteed. I believe the devs wanted to make cool bosses, but forgot that this is a slower paced survival horror. You can also get pinned in hallways with no chance of getting away. This could have been remedied by turning off enemy collision once they've taken damage, or just making the hallways wider. When you get pinned, you're dead, no matter what you do. There should always be a form of counterplay, but in this instant there isn't. There are 3 locations that you'll be exploring. You have the abandoned house, which we've touched on, the mines, and finally the amusement park. Remember the 10 FPS telephones? Well, the mines have 10 FPS particle animations. When you get to the amusement park, the frame drops to an all-time low, combined with constant jittering on screen. These frame drops weren't too bad when in a building, but would occur often when outside. One redeeming factor is that you can go on some of the rides if you have a ticket. You'll have the first person view, which reminded me of Roller Coaster Tycoon. They did a really good job with these and the music is great, but this isn't why you're buying the game. If you try and go on a ride or open a door without a ticket, Jack will say,
I don't have tickets to Kraken Island.
I don't understand how not having a paper ticket would prevent Jack from pushing a button or opening a door. There's no magical force field around it, and what would he do with the ticket anyways? Slip it under a door? We're doing battle with killer puppets. I don't think security's going to give a f if we slip in without a ticket. The game flips from a survival horror with its dark ambience and scenery that you start off with in the house. There's a level of unknown, blood all over the place and humanoid puppets. This takes a complete 180 when you get further on in the game, as everything brightens up. There's more emphasis on gun battles and puzzles completely fly out of the window. It then seems as though you're playing an FPS light, although I did enjoy this section where you get a rocket launcher and shoot digital rabbits. Graphically, the game is below par, and it's passable at best for the most part. There are parts that look like you're in a PC game from the early 2000s. The texture popping and frame rate issues plague the entire playthrough, and you'll also need to work with with poor audio. For example, here you must traverse glass panels to get to the other side. The trick is to listen out for a creaking noise which lets us know not to walk over a certain panel. Sometimes the sound effect didn't play at all or was delayed. Once the game is completed, there's nothing else to do. You can either reload from your last save or start a new playthrough, although there's not much incentive to do any of these. It took approximately 7 hours to finish and cost me £16 or $20. I don't feel the game warrants this price point due to its performance. This could have done with some further development time. There are some enjoyable parts of the game, but few of them. When you mix in constant frame drops, bad gameplay mechanics as well as lackluster audio, then there's not much that can be said. Metacritic has mixed reviews with an aggregate score of 64, shining a light on its unpolished nature and lack of story. Steam has the game listed as positive with 35 individuals leaving a review, and PlayStation Network scores it a 3.75 with 55 individuals leaving a review. Now I tend to agree with Metacritic based reviews, but clearly others had a positive experience with the game. It's worthy to note that these scores are true as of when I'm recording my audio, and they may vary slightly. Ladies and gents, subscribers and non-subscribers, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the review, it's much appreciated. Leave a comment if you have anything to say, I will reply. And subscribe if you want to see more content just like this, where I'll be covering new releases. That's all I've got, guys. Peace out.